Alright, it's time to play some little-known arcade games that I found to be pretty cool. Now, I just found these while I was perusing through MAME, and I'm not really focusing on region or anything like that, so with that said, let's start with a game called Aaargh. Is this a pirate game or something? I don't think so. What I found interesting was the fact that this was developed by Sculptured Software on the Amiga platform. That's kind of fun. I didn't realize there was any arcade games using the Amiga platform. This is more of a monster bashing game, kind of like Rampage, but more in a 3D style. Well, not exactly 3D. I mean, you can kind of move around the stage a little bit more than you can in Rampage. So basically, you move around the stage, smashing up the buildings and eating the villagers here. And the dragon character that I have can also shoot fire. It is a little tricky moving around on the stage, though, because it's hard to quite figure out exactly where you need to be in order to, smash the buildings. And also, breathing fire is a little bit tricky, trying to get it to, work in the location that you want it. The graphics, while colorful and detailed, are kind of static. There's not a whole lot of life in the backgrounds. I mean, even the clouds don't move. They're just sitting there. The music and sound effects are kind of weird, actually. I don't know what they're using for music in the Amigas, but yeah, it just sounds kind of weird. I do like the sound effect when you eat one of the people. He says, "People, people." That's kind of neat. Also, you can't play this as two-player, but of course, you have to have a friend for that, so... Okay, next we have a game called Aaargh Gallet from band Presto in 1996. And this is a shooter with a very impressive opening sequence.
What the heck? Prepare for launch.
And you're flying what looks kind of like a fancy F-19, maybe? I'm not sure, I'm not up with my jets. This one's got some nice music and sound effects, that's for sure. Some really beautiful graphics. And I do like how the tanks and enemies can kind of hide behind the buildings before you shoot them. The explosions are really nice in this game, and I just love the detailed graphics. Of course, there are several different weapons to choose from. I kind of like the spread gun or spread weapon. Whatever can spray out the most bullets at once, that's always my favorite.
Marvel Comics Avengers in Galactic Storm!
And this is one I had no idea even existed. It's a one-on-one fighter where you can choose from a paltry 4 different characters. There's actually more characters in the game that you can play with. I guess they're like your alternate character. I never did get to see them show up though.
Iron Man!
And as you can see, the graphics are pre-rendered, which is honestly very ugly. And also because I chose story mode, I think I only have to fight one time, which is good for me, because, I want to see as much of the game as possible.
Mission accomplished!
I tried doing some special moves, but I couldn't figure out how to do any of them. I don't know if there's a moves list out there for this game or not, but it may not even be worth it, because honestly, I don't really care for this game. That 3D pre-rendered look was just a fad for a very short amount of time, thank God, and I really just don't care for it at all. I can kind of understand why this game is not very well known. I mean, it plays pretty well, I guess, but it's just, I don't know, the graphics are just a huge turn-off. Our next game is called Beirut from Sega and Sunsoft back in 1989. This is a run and gun which feels very similar to games like Contra. Well, how many games are there like Contra? I mean, Contra is the game. But there is a huge difference in this game versus Contra in that you have all your weapons right up front. The power-ups that you get, all they do is increase the strength of your weapon. So you have your standard, like, machine gun weapon here. You have a grenade that you can bounce. You have a flamethrower, and then you have another grenade that you can shoot. The graphics for 1989 are just a little bit lackluster. I mean, Contra came out in, what, 86, 87? And it looks way better than this. I mean, the backgrounds are pretty static and very grainy looking. Also, your character has a really weird jump. I mean, I guess I'm used to the Contra jump and how they spin around. This guy just kind of jumps straight up in the air. Now, the second boss is pretty challenging to beat. I thought he was a little bit harder than he needed to be. It's just this square thing with guns on it that kind of goes around the room, but it's really hard to get that last gun because it's on the top, and you kind of have to use the grenade launcher to get it. There's no other weapon that can shoot that spot in the middle. So yeah, it's a pretty fun game, I guess. Not as good as Contra on the NES, though. Might be better than Contra in the arcade, I'm not sure. Here we have Biomechanical Toy from Zeus, 1995. I have no idea who Zeus is, but I get the feeling that this could be another Amiga game. It kind of looks like an Amiga game. But this is another side-scrolling run and gun with some really whacked-out graphics. And there's a lot of action going on in this game as well. It's crazy. I do like that it has some parallax in the background. And the sounds and the music are pretty nice too. Also like this section here where you have to jump on the darts. Makes it a little more creative than your basic run and gun. Okay, here's a light gun game called Crackshot. Now this is from Exidy, who also created Crossbow, which is a pretty well-known light gun game, and also the game called Chiller, which is a little controversial. This game, on the other hand, isn't controversial. It's just your basic shooting game. But there's a lot of different stages in this game as well, which is very nice. Of course, you want to make sure you shoot the right things and not the wrong things. And each stage has its own set of right and wrong things to shoot. On Pete's Bar and Grill, you want to shoot the beer mugs, which, I don't know, that might be a travesty. But you don't want to shoot the flaming Moes there, and you definitely don't want to shoot Pete's Bar and Grill mirror, because he'll get really mad at you. Then there's some other stages which honestly look like a 5-year-old drew them in Microsoft Paint. Like you got one here with the deers and the trees and the bears. Then you have another one here in a field shooting gophers but not the rabbits. And then here you want to shoot the objects that are trying to destroy your base there. This one was kind of weird. It's kind of a hybrid between Boulder Dash and a shooting game. You have to shoot the dirt for the boulders to come down and crush the robots. I thought that was kind of a clever premise. But this is kind of a cool game overall. I mean, the graphics are really lame, but I don't know, I had some fun with it. Here we have Elevator Action 2, which is from Taito in 1994. And I didn't even know this game existed up until recently. But I'm a big fan of the original Elevator Action game, and this one just takes it to a whole nother level. You start off kind of similar to the original game, where you start at the top of the building and you work your way down to the bottom, stealing the plans and shooting the enemy agents. And it does play similar to the original, but it just feels so much more polished. And not just because the graphics are incredible, but the way your character moves feels so much better, especially going in and out of the doors. One thing I really don't care for, though, and I wish they would not have included it, is the dogs. I don't think it's cool to be shooting dogs in a game. Now, when you get to the later stages, the game kind of changes things up a little bit, and you're no longer going down a building, but instead you're traveling all over the stage. And you even have to go into an airplane, which is kind of cool. However, these guys that I'm shooting here just kind of never end. They just appear forever, which is a little annoying.
Seriously.
The music and sound effects are absolutely superb, but it's really the graphics and the gameplay that just take the cake in this game. I find this game to be really a lot of fun, and, you know, kind of a shame that it's not more well known. Okay, here's a top-down run-and-gun called Gundhara by Band Presto in 1995. And this game I would compare to something like Commando or Ikari Warriors, but just with way better graphics and sound and, I don't know, music. Sure, we'll go with that. You do have some different weapons that you can pick up, which is nice. I like the homing missiles that you can shoot. And it's a good thing that you have those too, because there's a lot of stuff going on the screen in this game. You're going to need all the weapons you can find, that's for sure. And basically how it works with the power-ups is that it will increase the strength of your weapon, which, again, I need all the strength I can get. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get past this boss because, you know, you get 3 lives when you start, but the boss took every one of them, and then I'd have to restart to get to the boss again, which kind of sucks. I wish you could just continue where you died, but I guess that's just a way to get more quarters out of you. Okay, here's an into-the-screen shooter called Hard Times from Playmark. And this one's got a bit of a gangster theme to it, which is kind of cool. All you do is aim your little box around the screen and shoot stuff. Shoot the bad guys. Try not to shoot the ambulances, which, you know, I kind of like doing sometimes anyways, just see what happens. I do like the way the buildings and stuff are destructible. I mean, it's kind of cool watching them just like fall apart. Kind of amazing that all it takes is a little machine gun to take down these whole buildings. But there are different weapons as well. You can have like the Tommy gun and the dual pistols, and there's also grenades that you can throw. One of the essential things that you have to do in the game is that dodge move. If you don't do that dodge, then you're going to get hit a lot more often. It's really the easiest way to move your character around, because otherwise you have to stop shooting to move, and who wants to do that? I do like the cartoony style graphics, they're pretty cool. The sounds are really nothing special, and the music is extremely repetitive. Next we have a game called Hotdog Storm from Marble Incorporated in Japan from 1996. Now I'm fully expecting this to be a game of, you know, a character on the screen getting pelted with hot dogs. Let's see if I'm right. Oh no, it's a top-down shooter. Absolutely nothing like I expected it to be. While I didn't expect this to be a shooter games like this I do expect to have a lot of cool weapons, some really good graphics, and some amazing sounds, and this game pretty much has all of that. I didn't find it to be all that hard. It was pretty fun actually, which is nice for somebody like me who, you know, stinks at these kind of games. I really like it when the games are, you know, fairly easy for people like me. This is In the Hunt from Aaargh in 1993. I guess some of you probably do know this game, although it's one I haven't really played that much. But it is a submarine shooting game with some absolutely incredible graphics and animation. And yes, you may notice a strong similarity to games like Metal Slug, because the graphics in this game were created by the same folks who did those games, Nazca Corporation. I believe that's how you pronounce them. This does predate Metal Slug, though. In fact, I think this is one of the games that helped them get the Metal Slug gig in the first place. But anyway, yeah, you play as a submarine and you can shoot upwards or you can shoot forwards. The one problem is that you can't shoot any aerial targets like helicopters or planes unless you are at the surface level. But as you can see, the graphics and animation are just absolutely incredible. Definitely worth playing this game just to feast your eyes on the beauty of it. It's just amazing. But it's also a lot of fun, too. There are some clever moments here where you have to shoot into the buildings and kind of go through them. Music and sound effects are also very, very nice, but ultimately it's the gameplay which makes this game super enjoyable. And I really love this game. Our next game is called Knuckle Bash. It says it's presented by Atari Games, but it was created by Toaplan? Maybe this is a prototype game, I'm not sure. Now this game kind of reminds me of a combination between Final Fight and Pit Fighter. Basically the goal of the game is just to beat up everybody as quick as you can. Punch them, kick them, throw them over your back, whatever it takes. There's not a whole lot of music in the game, which normally would be okay with me, but I think it would really elevate this game just a bit. I mean, imagine playing this game with Streets of Rage 2 music. I think it would make the game a little bit more fun. The graphics are kind of nice, I guess. They're just a little repetitive and cartoony. Next is a game called Mad Shark by Illumor in 1993. Never heard of these guys. Again, I don't know what I was expecting here. Maybe, I don't know, Thunderjaws kind of side-scrolling shooter game? Instead, it's a top-down shooter game almost exactly like Raiden. It looks like Raiden, it plays like Raiden, and it even has similar style weapons like Raiden does. If you had to play a Raiden clone, this is not bad. It looks nice and it plays good. It is pretty hilarious though how the bomb even looks like Raiden, just, you know, a little bit more spruced up. Next, let's try a little Power Instinct from Atlas in 1993. And this is a one-on-one fighting game. You got 8 characters to choose from, and just as many stages to fight in. Now, I found it kind of interesting that the first stage that I'm playing on is in a Native American village with culturally insensitive sound effects and graphics. There's little judges in the background, I guess very similar to the judges in Samurai Showdown. At least that's what they look like to me. But I gotta say, I kind of enjoyed this game. The graphics are really good, and the gameplay is fast and smooth, and the animation is good. And I really like how large the characters are in the game, too. I do notice that there's no line scrolling on the ground. You'd think by 1993 every game would have line scrolling. So yeah, I was able to dispatch the characters pretty easy until I got to this older lady here, and she just kicked my butt. And then somehow she transformed into this younger girl and just continued to kick my butt. But that's Power Instinct, and if you like fighting games, I think you ought to check it out. Here's one called Riding Fight by Taito in 1992. My thought in playing this game is it feels like F-Zero on the Super Nintendo, although it's not really a racing game. It's more of a fighting game. This is basically a brawling game with some really crazy, fast-moving backgrounds. I like this part where I get to fight this boss, and every time I punch him, it looks like I'm punching him in the crotch. I guess it's because my character is just so small. You have your basic punch and kick moves, but you can also pick up weapons, like swords and baseball bats, and beat up the enemies with those, too. And then later in the game, we get to this part where we're punching missiles. That's how awesome this guy is. We don't need to shoot the missiles, we'll just punch them. And then finally I get to this boss character, and oh gosh. She's one of these characters that it's very difficult to hit her. I feel like she was artificially too difficult to fight. But yeah, this is definitely a unique brawling game. Next we have Silent Dragon, again from Taito in 1992. And let me just say right off the bat, this game is anything but silent. This is the most loud game that I've ever played. This is a very colorful brawling game, and I started off playing as this ninja character, so it made me think of the Tecmo classic arcade game Ninja Gaiden, but it's really nothing like that game at all. Animation is a little bit choppy in this game though, especially from your main character. He just doesn't move all that smoothly. It is pretty cool that some of the objects in the game are destructible, like this car right here. And then later in the game, you just know that window is ready to be smashed. The music is not good. I don't know, it's annoying. I don't like it. I would say that some of the characters are definitely better than others. I like this one here with the blue denim, because he's got this like uppercut punch move. It's really good. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that you can also pick up weapons and things like that, like this sword. I find it kind of interesting though that the sword starts off really tiny on the ground, but when you pick it up, it's gigantic. I don't know what the deal is with that. Next we have Steel Force. Looks like it's from Eco Games, I think, or Electronic Devices. I don't know. I don't care. And basically this game is a top-down shooter similar to, well, I don't know, maybe Heavy Barrel, kinda? You have to infiltrate this base and basically destroy the boss and then escape. There's some different weapon power-ups that make the game a little bit easier. And obviously the programmers knew that the player would get lost really easily, so there's these red arrows everywhere that you just have to follow. The music is incredibly annoying, honestly. The first couple stages are a little repetitive. I mean, you're just on this same like space station over and over again. Until you get down to this planet, and then finally the graphics look a little bit different. This game has some problems, but it's got some good qualities as well. Here's Strikers 1945-2 from 1997 from Saikyo, I think that's how you say it. And I think this is by far the most fun World War II shooting game like this that I've ever played. You've got 1941, 1942, 1943 from Capcom and all those, but this one is just so much better. The graphics are just so incredible. You have a variety of different aircraft that you can play as, and they all have different styles of super weapon. Well, it's not really a super weapon, it's more of a super, I guess, defense, because when you hit that button, you get a bunch of aircraft to come in and protect you. Of course, I don't know how historically accurate this game is, because I sure as heck don't remember some of these transforming spaceships and things like that. So yeah, this game is great. Highly recommended. Strikers 1945-2. Play it. You'll love it. Here we have Vendetta from 1991, Konami, and this is another side-scrolling brawling game. This one's got some nice clean graphics to it, some good gameplay, decent sounds. Some of them sound familiar though, it seems like I've heard them before. Of course, you can't pick up some weapons and bash your enemies into the wall with them if you can hold on to those weapons long enough. Pretty neat, kind of reminds me of Splatterhouse a little bit when you smash them into the wall like that. It's got a nice variety of stages too. I like how you get on the back of this truck and fight the boss. It's not a bad game, but, you know, it's not the greatest either. I imagine it'd be more fun if you had some friends to play with you. And lastly, we have Undercover Cops by Aaargh from 1992.
Here she comes!
Now, you may notice that I swapped the order of Vendetta and Undercover Cops because Undercover Cops is the one you want to end on. Look how awesome this game is. The graphic style vaguely reminds me of Metal Slug. They're just so incredibly detailed. I like how you can pick up things like girders and columns out of the ground and just start smashing people with them. That's pretty cool. Very satisfying too, just smashing them. The music is also fantastic. I mean, not as good as Streets of Rage. Nothing's ever going to be as good as that, but wow, definitely gets me hyped up to play the game for sure. Also, check this out. You can lift up this Jeep and just throw it at people. It's awesome. A lot of objects in the game that you can pick up and throw. So Undercover Cops, yeah, this is a great game. Highly recommended. And honestly, I'm a little sad that I've only just discovered this game because it is a ton of fun. Alright, well, that's gonna do it for my tour of some games that you may not have ever heard of. I have never heard of most of these. Some were good, some were but all of them definitely interesting. Is there any game on this list that you really enjoyed? Please let me know down in the comments. With that, I want to say thank you for watching, take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Alright, that should be enough.